Evening, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of OSDIA Facebook Live. I am Lisa Marie Falbo, and joining me here is Mary. Where are you calling in from, Mary, today? Cincinnati?
No, I'm in Cleveland tonight.
You're in Cleveland tonight, and we have Justin at our national office in Washington, D.C., which is not the place to be right now. You want to be far away from Washington, D.C. as possible, but
I'm holding it down. Don't worry.
Yes. And we are joined by two guests tonight. We have former Major League Baseball player, Chris Colabello. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. Thanks for having us.
And we also have Natalie Spedaliere. She works for MLB Network. And the both of them are co-hosts of the Spaghetti and Baseball podcast, which is part of the Italian American Baseball Foundation. How are you two doing tonight?
Good. Thank you so much for having us. I'm excited about this.
Oh, I'm so excited. And Natalie, me and you met so many years ago.
I didn't want to say how many years ago.
And it was a random occurrence at Yankee Stadium, and we bonded over our shared love of the New York Yankees.
Yes. So we were, I guess at the time, Major League Baseball was doing their campaign, I Live for This. They wanted to do a commercial, and Lisa and I were, waiting in line inside, whatever, but we ended up being two of the 12 finalists for this commercial, which is so crazy.
So funny. But not only that, and I love that you have the clipping. But
So for everyone, if you can see this, I'm not sure. Here's the clipping. There's me. Lisa's right here.
We made the daily news. It was awesome. I mean, I didn't make it. Were you picked for it actually, or no?
No, I didn't make it. I think I got to like the final interview. And
okay. But hey, we made it to the New York Daily News, so that was pretty cool.
We made it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I love though that how you've taken your love of baseball though, into a career, between MLB Network and then all of your wonderful work with the Italian American Baseball Foundation. Enlighten our audience as to what the foundation is.
So the Italian American Baseball Foundation is an incredible foundation that helps bridge, bringing baseball to, building baseball in Italy and the United States. We have showcases, we do clinics, we donate tons of equipment to Little League teams. We also provide scholarships, and we also try to help with documentation for baseball players to become Italian citizens to play for the World Baseball Classic and Team Italy. So it's an incredible platform to build baseball in and out of the United States.
Yeah, and I feel like Italian Americans and baseball, they have such a rich relationship. I mean, if you go back through history and you see the names that are so synonymous in baseball, Yogi Berra, Joe DiMaggio, they all have vowels at the end of their last names, Phil Rizzuto. And there's a reason for that. And that tradition continues today, which brings me to Chris. So Chris, tell us about your major league background.
Well, it was interesting. I got there like kind of a weird way, but I think being Italian actually in some ways was a huge part of it, because I grew up halfway between the US and Italy. So as I was a kid, my dad was still playing for the Italian national team, playing for a Series A team. He's from Milford, Mass. Met my mom, so I was kind of back and forth. So my baseball roots were really from Italy. I mean, as much as they were the States, and then kind of came over here, did high school, went to college, didn't get drafted. And then I played the better part of a decade in independent baseball. And for anybody that doesn't know what independent baseball is, it's the equivalent of like, if there's dirt, like whatever layers below dirt, that's like what indie ball is. And then I kind of grinded through that. And then 7 years later, I signed with the Minnesota Twins, played a season in AA, had a little bit of a season in AAA, and before I knew it, I was in the major leagues, and spent time with a couple different organizations, and most notably the Toronto Blue Jays, which you can see my little nameplate right there. So you guys love the Yankees. I'm sorry we hurt their feelings that year.
We made up for it, right, Natalie?
We definitely made up for it. It's all right.
That's really cool. So how did you become involved with the foundation?
Well, I think that IBF reached out to me, I want to say probably first year of existence, the first time they threw a dinner.
Fun.
in Brooklyn.
Years ago?
Yeah, so it's probably about 4 years ago now, and I had spoken to some of my teammates with at the World Baseball Classic, Drew Butera, Jason Grilly, guys I play with, good, paisans with vowels on the end of their last name, and everybody said they were going to go, and I got to meet Joe and Carmine and the people over there, and they were wonderful. And anything for me personally, Italian baseball has been so important to me, and helping grow the game and develop the game. I've played probably, I don't know, 100 games maybe with a team Italy, from the youth level to the professional level. So it's really important to me to help grow the game. I'm still very involved with the federation over there. After I finished my time in the big leagues, I actually played a little bit of one regular season over there because I had to get ready for some international stuff we're doing. And then last year we had the Olympic qualifier, which unfortunately we didn't qualify for, but yeah, so IABF was just kind of a natural fit for me, and obviously getting to meet good people, and anytime you put a couple paisans in a room, we're going to have some conversations, I think. So
yeah, well, speaking of conversations, you two came together and created this podcast, which I think is awesome because you have had some really big names from the Major League Baseball world on. So how did the podcast come to be?
Chris, or
Natalie, you could take that one.
So Joe, we wanted to do something, especially since we're hunkered down because of COVID. We need to do something different, and we're all sitting at home, and how do we create awareness? So all right, everyone's doing a podcast. So Joe had reached out to Chris and reached out to me, and he's like, this is what we want to do. And we're like, all right, fine. We had no idea. I always joke around, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm having fun with it. And it's just to build the game. Like we said, we've had some great guests. Lee Mazzilli, who's actually going to be honored at our dinner coming up in December. We'll talk about that in a bit. But John Franco, Bobby V, Drew Butera. So it's been a great platform to create awareness for the IBF and just put these names out there again and make them relevant. And just to get a little behind the scenes too. So Chris is all about the baseballs. He'll talk about the careers. I'm the spaghetti, where I find out Lee Mazzilli is a speed skater, Bobby V is a national dancing champion. So it's just been a lot of fun to do it.
Yeah, and I could just tell you guys have such great chemistry. So it's that I've obviously listened. So it's definitely a great time. Mary, I know you have a lot of questions you'd like to ask tonight.
I do. So first, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So baseball has been around for generations and was actually used to create relationships between American and Italian armies during World War I. Do you think baseball helped calm our nation during the pandemic?
I guess this question's kind of more directed at me. I would say for sure. I think much like what we try to do with spaghetti and baseballs, right? It's been such a weird year in so many more ways than one, and obviously to kind of throw all the COVID stuff at people and really not knowing how to react and deal with stuff. Sport has always been a way to bring people together. And I know for a fact for me, to your point about Italians during the times of the war, baseball is a sport that really does have a tendency to bring people together. It's a social event. There's not action all the time. So it becomes something that allows for interaction and passion and shared vision and controversy. So I think the world was hurting when Major League Baseball wasn't playing this summer, and I'm glad that they were able to get past some of their issues in terms of labor dispute and really make sure there was a season. And certainly it gave some people something to look forward to, I think, day to day.
I agree with that. It's it brings a lot of people together, the passion, the excitement, it's unpredictability about it. It's just fun, and it's a nice distraction given with what's going on in the world. It was nice to see that as normal as we can. I mean, you couldn't go to the games, which, wasn't fun, obviously, but just to, throw it on the TV and come together and still talk about it and watch it. And it brought people together.
Yeah. And you know what? I give baseball a lot of credit. I mean, obviously I know there were times when games had to be rescheduled but baseball kept it under wraps pretty good considering the circumstances. And hey, you got to have a World Series.
Right, exactly. I mean, the first couple of weeks, I mean, you're getting like positive cases like every day. Teams weren't playing for days at a time, a week. But at the end of the day, when they think that we were going to have a World Series, the Dodgers just won, a week ago. So we made it happen, which is awesome. I mean, I commend like the people that I work with, the challenges they went through to put live TV on and be able to entertain the world and give them something to watch and look forward to.
Mary, do you have any others?
I do. So what's your favorite part of your show?
My
Natalie's
favorite.
favorite question is the sauce or gravy thing.
That is my favorite. We always end the show. Chris does the 5 rapid fire questions. And the first one is always mine, which is sauce or gravy. And like I said earlier, I don't care where you're from, it's sauce.
Hello. Sorry, Bob Yankee.
I would say for me, it's just rapid fire in general. But like the funny thing is it's impossible to do rapid fire with 3 or 4 Italians at one point, because the answer turns into a 2 or 3 minute dissertation, and you got to do your explanation. So I guess my real favorite part is when I come up with like the most obscure statistic that nobody knows about, and then I just get to make fun of my people that are more often than not my friends. And then they just make fun of me back, which is good. So.
I think the best part of doing our spaghetti and baseball is like I said, this is not my wheelhouse, but I'm having fun with it. And at the end of the day, you can see we're having conversations. It's not an interview. It's like a bunch of paisans coming together at a table and having a conversation. Those rapid fires are never rapid fires because we're constantly talking, but it's what makes us entertaining. Like that's the thing a lot of people say who watch us, like it's so intriguing. Like I couldn't stop watching. Like it's funny. And I take that as a compliment. I don't know if they're making fun of me, but I take it as a compliment that it's fun. And that's what we want to give. It's supposed to be lighthearted and entertaining. So
take your ratings however you can get them, whether they're making fun of me, making fun of you. I take my ratings however. I think we're one of the top baseball sports podcasts this side of the Mississippi that happens once a month.
Absolutely.
With Italian people on it. We come up with these fake ratings every week. Just
I think
ridiculous ratings.
I just think that's great. And Natalie, I know what a big baseball fan you are. So what a beautiful way to meet some of your heroes.
Oh my God.
Right. And this is how we look at this show too, with OSDIA Live. I mean, it was the same thing. It was, a brainstorm, like how do we reinvent ourselves with the pandemic and everyone is home, and Justin and Mary can attest to the cool people from all walks of life that we've been exposed to. And it's really cool, even though we can't unfortunately be there in person.
Right.
This has been the best thing.
It's been absolutely amazing because last year's dinner, I was honored and I had to write a speech. And I said, if you told 12-year-old Natalie she'd be doing this, honored, doing a podcast with Chris Colabello, like meeting incredible people, I'd be like, you're joking, like no way. But here I am, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it, going with the flow and just enjoying. Truly, truly blessed to be doing this.
Yeah, and you were honored alongside Joe Girardi.
Well, that's another thing. So Joe used to work at the network before he went to the Phillies, and obviously working at the network, I had to be cool and professional. So when I had started my speech, I was like, excuse me. I was like, I had to keep it cool, but forgive me as I geek out right now. But it was amazing. Such a kind man, like so awesome. It was just a lot of fun. So again, never in a million years would you put my name to be synonymous with Joe Girardi.
Yeah. Mary, what else do you have?
I'd like to know where in Italy are your families from?
That's like kind of a loaded question for me. So my mom was born, she's gonna get mad at me if I get this wrong. She was born in Milan. She moved to Naples when she was a little girl. Family grew up there. And then we lived in Rimini. So, I mean, I would do the Italian. You want me to do the Italian? Rimini on the Adriatic coast, which
there it is.
To me is by far the most beautiful place in the country. Very underrated, but it was such a big tourist attraction, well known for its beaches, and it made it very easy to want to spend summer in Italy and winter in America when I was a kid, which kind of lined up with baseball. So I guess I'm kind of from 3 places, but I only know Rimini really.
And then my dad was actually born here in the States in Port Chester, New York. But his parents, my grandparents, were in Rome, and it's a little town called Spedaliere. And when we were talking earlier today, Spedaliere is actually a sister town of Stamford, Connecticut, which is literally minutes from where I live now.
Wow.
Mhm.
I love that you both have Northern Italian roots, because everybody that I come encounter, and a lot of people that we have on the show, it's Naples, Calabria, Sicily, it's never like the northern part. So that's really cool that you have that in common.
Yeah, the
Chris,
South
is your mother Silvana? Because I think she's tuning in, and she may be checking what you're saying. So make sure.
I've heard that there was a beep that came through. I don't know if you heard it. That's when you get a text message. Like, I'm trying to not get text messages during the thing. That was my mom. I think she said something about my beard. I wasn't able to read it because I was really focused on the show. But my mom, I could literally, Mom, I love you to death. There's not many things that I could do publicly that my mother wouldn't tune into. Like, I could go on like a mushroom growing show and be like, oh, this is how we put the dirt around it. And my mom would watch and tell me that I was the best. So I appreciate her for that.
She's an Italian mom, and that's what she does best.
Yeah, she's good at loving. That's as Italian mothers are the most loving women in the world. And I think my mom is, I was blessed even more so than most. So I'm very fortunate to have my parents, and my dad's not bad either. Don't get me wrong. But no, they're wonderful people. I'm blessed to have the parents that I do. That's for sure.
My parents too. Amazing. So lucky.
Justin, do we have any questions from our audience?
Absolutely. So Mary took a few of our viewers were wondering where Chris was from and if he still had family in Italy, but also wondering if he makes it back to Italy very often.
So I hadn't been. This irony was, so obviously playing baseball made it very difficult. A traditional year for me growing up was Christmas was always in America. I never spent a Christmas in Italy, which I was thankful for, because you got more presents in America than you did in Italy. So like when I was a kid, I was like, Mom, we got to be in America for Christmas. And then I always spent the summers typically in Italy. And up till about probably when I got to college and started playing summer ball. At the end of the 2004 season, which was my junior year, I played summer ball, and then my dad and I met my mom in Italy for about 3 weeks. And since 2004, I hadn't gone back to Italy for probably, I want to say it was 14 years. So yeah, I went over, I had played some international tournaments, but they were either in Holland or, Germany or whatever. So I never got to go to Italy because I was coming right from my season. So 2018, I got to go. I was going to do a national team event in the Netherlands, and as like kind of a prelude to that, where free agency was not treating me really well, I just went and played like 10 games in the Italian regular season, which ultimately happens over the course of like a month and a half. So 10 games in baseball usually is 10 days, which I considered that kind of like a nice little vacation. And since then, 2018, I went over. I want to say it was July, and then I've been over there probably 3 or 4 times since then.
Awesome. And do you always go back to Rimini, or do you travel around?
What's funny is growing up, I never really thought of myself as, having to be a tourist in Italy, because I lived there. So my friends would be like, oh, do you go to Venice or Florence or whatever? And I'm like, I just stay at home in Rimini. It's like, who cares about the Leaning Tower of Pisa? It's right down the street, So when I was a kid, I never traveled. Like, unless I was going to a baseball tournament, I didn't get to see Venice. I didn't get to see Florence. And then more recently, I always kind of center myself in Rimini, but I've done Rome a couple times since then for some events, and went to Florence really for the second time, even though I never really got to see Florence, or I got to see kind of Montalcino, where they make Brunello, which is the wine, and went to some wineries. I still have not been to Venice. I drove through Venice one time. I haven't been there. So I'm a bad Italian, I think, for that.
No.
I don't know about that. I think we'll give you a break on that one. And just one, this is a comment and not a question, but Mike DeSapio, he said that he thought your favorite part of the show was that he was the producer. So I think he just wanted to throw that out there, but that can't go unnoticed.
Well, hi, Mike. I know Mike too because of the work in New Jersey and everything. So I'm happy that he's tuning in, and that's so funny that he's your producer. Small, small world.
So small. And the best part about Mike is that we are the only podcast, as Chris likes to put it, with a talking logo.
Oh, cute.
I mean, we're
So
special.
he's our guy that reads us comments and questions from the audience.
And the cool thing about the logo is it like pulses or has like a little effect around it because the platform we use. So it really makes it, I mean, it's very interactive. And every time it gets me because I'm like, how is our logo talking? And then I have to remind myself that it's Mike, and Mike's our guy. He's the man. We wouldn't be anywhere without him.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go, Mike. You're getting the love after all. One final question before I throw it back to Lisa Marie and Mary is Michael Camachi was wondering, this is for Chris, what are the biggest differences in the game between how it's played in Italy and the US? And he put i.e. long ball pitching, duels, relief pitching, refereeing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I was pleasantly surprised when I was growing up that I would say at the youth level, the game's a tick more advanced in Italy because you actually have smaller factions of people that are playing, right? So instead of playing like your in-town local leagues, you have this kind of generalized area, which, take a city like Rimini or Grosseto or Nettuno, and you're bringing together a lot of players to form one team. So the level of play is actually a little bit higher, but once you get to the professional level, I would say the general rule of thumb, the way I like to describe it, is Italy's about 15 years behind America all the time. And it might be a little more, a little less, but very big on playing small ball over there. There's not, the instruction of the game, I would say, is just a tick behind in terms of like a top to bottom. There's certainly some wonderful coaches and wonderful baseball people over there, but I just don't think there's enough truly well-rounded coaches in Italy to be able to handle the volume of players. So what ends up happening is like the instruction just falls a tick behind. And I think that's part of what IBF is really trying to accomplish. We're trying to set up some things as travel begins to kind of hopefully get back to normal at some point. But I would say it's more, small ball. Certainly there are guys capable of hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but the pitching duels are not uncommon. You bring an American or a foreign pitcher over who's pitching AA or AAA, he might be, a cut above most Italian-born pitchers, but it's still baseball at the end of the day.
Great. Well, before we wrap up here, Mary, you want to get one last question in?
I do. Do either of you have any favorite Italian family traditions that you love, that you can't wait to celebrate?
Well, for me, we definitely do the 7 fishes on Christmas Eve, maybe 4 or 5 of them, not entirely the 7, but we all come together as a family and then we do midnight mass. It's something I love. There's just something about it. And we come home, it's 1:30 in the morning. We change into our matching PJs, and for the longest time we have this manger. I think it has to be over 30 years old, and my sister, when we were little, made like a little blanket for Jesus, so we wrap them. So on when we come home from midnight mass, we take off the little blanket, say happy birthday, we exchange our Christmas presents. So I love that tradition. It's something I will always take with me.
I love that.
I'm not really so it's hard to say what like my Italian traditions versus my American traditions are. So it's tough. Typically, and this is going to sound really spoiled, the fact that my mom chose to do my laundry for me, Mom, I love you, until I was probably like 25, 27, when I was living at home, things like that. So that's like a really cool Italian tradition. An only child, or just a male in general, their moms take care of them. So
we have a word in Italian for that.
What do you got?
Mamone sometimes is
Okay.
used. I'm not calling you that.
No,
That's
no,
not what
I am. There's no doubt about it that I am a mother's boy. I'm a mama's boy. I love my mom to death. No, I mean, in terms of general traditions, it's weird. Like I would say, so one of the things that was cool was in Italy, they do La Befana after Christmas. So I usually try to get back so I could get my second round of presents. So that was cool.
and that for everybody, that's when the witch comes on January 6th on the Epiphany, and she's kind of like in Italy, she's kind of like our Santa Claus in a way.
Yeah.
She's the one who brings the gifts and scares the kids.
My
And then
dad,
she also whisks the holidays away, right?
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, my dad too. We exchange most of our presents, but my dad will hold one back for us, for my sister and me, and hold it back for La Befana.
Yeah.
I
And
love
there's
that.
nothing like, and the last thing I'll say about Italian tradition, there's nothing like a cool Italian gathering, like sitting at the table talking for hours and just being around people that you enjoy and care about. Like, to me, that's my favorite thing. When I get to go back there and see my friends, we'll sit down for dinner at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and 1 o'clock in the morning rolls around, you're still sitting there kind of hanging out. So
Yeah. Well, Natalie, Chris, this was so much fun. One more time, tease your virtual gala coming up for the foundation.
So you can get the information on IABF.foundation/events. It's going to be our 5th annual gala. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, it's going to be virtual. And it's on December 3rd at 8 p.m. You can find us on our Facebook page. And we're honoring Lee Mazzilli, JP Ricciardi, and Anthony Iapoce. We hope to have some live guests. We're working on some people, so we'll have live guests. We're not quite sure all the logistics, but it should be a good time. And it's free to everyone, but we are hoping, for donations and whatnot to help us out and to, spread the word.
Great. Well, we'll be sure to tune in. Natalie, Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and before we go, Mary has some information on how you can join Order of Sons and Daughters of Italy in America.
Yes, so we'd love it if you would follow us on any of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And if you're interested in joining our organization, you can go to www.osdia.org to become a member, or you can email our national office at nationaloffice@osia.org, osia.org.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mary and Justin. Justin, please keep safe down there.
Definitely
Who
will.
do we have coming up next week?
So next week we have Mike Massimino, the Italian-American astronaut.
Wow. Very, very cool.
It's
Like
very
I
cool.
said, talk to all walks of life on this show.
I know, it's amazing. I love
it. Thank you so much. And everyone, thanks for watching. Have a great night and enjoy the rest of your week.